Okay, so I was going to do this on a projector in a classroom, but the projector wouldn't really work, so I'm just going to do it here on the Mac and and talk about it through the camera. So I'm a journalism major, so I did mine on the wickedness of women in journalism and how they're perceived compared to their male counterparts. And I'm Chris Barnett. So throughout the year, we've been mainly focused on these two women, Cleopatra and Wuzetian, and both of them are rulers, female rulers, where during their time in their they all get criticism, basically unwanted criticism, basically because of them being women, and that has a lot of similarities to the women in journalism today. So this is basically just some women that I personally like in journalism. To the left, right there, is just a basic image of this as women in journalism. It's no one really special. But right here is Katie Couric. Right here to the right of her is Rachel Nichols. She works for ESPN. She used to work at CNN, but now she's back at ESPN, and she hosts a show called The Jump, where it's about the NBA. And this right here is Clarissa Ward. She works for 60 Minutes. She does a lot of pieces on foreign affairs, and she's over in Syria and in Turkey interviewing members of ISIS and just really getting in there on the ground floor of all these issues in the Middle East. And this is Mina Kimes. She's a sports journalist as well, but she's on the print side. She's the senior editor for ESPN, the magazine. I use them because these are the female journalists that I personally like to listen to and read their stories, and just to see where they're at and what the stories they're writing on. And yes, unfortunately, we are going to talk about Donald Trump, because let's be honest, isn't everything about Donald Trump these days? So for those of you who don't know, Megyn Kelly, she's a journalist, and she works for Fox, and she doesn't pull any punches with Donald Trump. She goes after him, and she calls him on his stuff. And in the debate, she asked him about his comments that he's made about women before, and these are the type of things that he said following her challenging him during a debate. He went to Twitter, and this one right here, it says, "Why is it necessary to comment on Aaron Huff's looks?" Someone asked Donald Trump. He responded, "Because she is a dog who wrongfully comments on me." In the middle right here, Donald Trump says, "Fox viewers give low marks to bimbo Megyn Kelly. Will consider other programs." So as you can see, someone who's running for president doesn't have much respect for a woman in power. He goes to the length of calling her a bimbo on Twitter with no regard of the word or just being a leader. So as you can see, that's an issue. And then on the third one, Aaron Huff is she works at Huffington Post, and she challenges Trump as well as Megyn Kelly. But on Twitter, Donald Trump wrote, "Aaron Huff is unattractive both inside and out. I fully understand why her former husband left her for a man. He made a good decision." So as you can see right here, this person is running for to be president of the free world here in the United States. So as you can see, we've come far on women's suffrage and the rights of women, but as you can still see, someone that is running for the president of the United States still has little to no respect for women in power and women who call people out on certain things. So it's really unfortunate that that we live in this time. But as you can see, this is a similarity between Donald Trump and the people who oppose Cleopatra and Wuzetian. Okay, and I'm a big sports fan, and so I wanted to put sports in, but women in sports go through tons of things every day in sports, and it's really quite sad how the male counterparts are treated so much differently than the female counterparts. So right here, I put sexism in sports. Now, the first image right here is Floyd Money Mayweather, and for those of you who don't know, he's considered one of the greatest boxers of all time. He's 43-0. He just retired in September after his last fight, and he and he's had domestic violence issues. Like it's been reported that he beat up his girlfriend in front of his child, and his child was screaming, and no charges was filed because because she didn't show up to court and he paid her off. It's a whole issue. But last May, actually it was the day of the Kentucky Derby last year, May 5th, I believe. He had a fight with Manny Pacquiao, and this was the biggest fight in maybe 10 to 15 years because they had never fought before, and a lot of people, like Manny Pacquiao right now, is probably the second best boxer. Well, maybe the first best now that Mayweather's retired, but it's a very anticipated fight. Like, people have been wanting to see this fight for almost 10 years now. So they finally came together, they finally got together, and these 4 journalists all are in the sports world. All 4 of them work for ESPN. And Mike Wilbon, he was... Sorry about that. My tape had issues. But back to what I was saying. Michael Wilbon, he spoke out against Floyd Mayweather and him, essentially getting... Well, he never got charged, but having domestic violence issues and talking about how he needs help, he needs to get it together. And so did Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman actually works with this lady. He works at Sports Nation on ESPN. He did the same thing. He spoke out and he's like, no, this isn't right. We shouldn't be heralding this guy for beating up women beating up his girlfriend in front of their child. But these 2 women right here, Rachel Nichols once again and Michelle Beadle, both work for ESPN. They spoke out. Michelle Beadle is probably the most vocal of people, of Floyd Mayweather detractors, and they were just like, no, this isn't right. Well, Floyd Mayweather didn't really like that. So, on May 5th, when him and Pacquiao was going to fight, he banned those 2 women from the building. He did not want them in there. They were not allowed in there. Now, those 2 men who have spent just as much time talking about how this isn't right, he's a bad guy, he's getting paid all this, hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's a terrible person, a terrible role model. They were in the building, and he had no problem with them being there. So that just goes to show you that even though 4 people, 2 men, 2 women, all 4 of them came out, spoke out against it, said basically the same thing. I mean, yes, they had a little bit of different perspectives, but essentially the same thing. And the women was pointed out and said, no, you can't come in. You've put me in a bad light. You've put me in a negative light. I don't want you here. So it just goes to show you how still, once again, like with Donald Trump, that even though we've gotten better and women have gained more rights and things, we are still in the space where it's okay for a man to be assertive and in charge and speak out against things, but when a woman does it, oh no, that's wrong, she shouldn't do that, or no, you can't come and do your job and cover a sporting event. So, and once again, sexism in sports again. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is Erin Andrews. She became really, really popular. You might have known her from the not really a scandal, but the situation where she was videotaped. She had a stalker, and he videotaped her while she was in a hotel room. He had a conjoined room. He videotaped her. But this isn't what it's about. So, 2014 at the MLB, which for those of you who don't know, it stands for Major League Baseball. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game. St. Louis Cardinals pitcher Adam Wainwright said that he grooved a couple pitches to Derek Jeter. Now, at the time, this was Jeter's last season. Like, it was his last hurrah. He was just going through the season. At the end of the season, he was going to retire. So he said he grooved a few pitches. For those of you who aren't baseball fans or aren't into sports, grooves means he threw him easy pitches so that he could hit it, go out in glory. Now, Wainwright, that was just a little joke. It wasn't too much. But Wainwright, of course, all the sports analysts came out and was like, oh, why would you do that? There's no integrity in the game. See, that's why these games are not important, because these people don't take it serious. And for those of you who don't know, in the All-Star game, whatever team wins is split up between 2 conferences. There's the NL and the AL. If the NL wins, then the NL team the team that represents the NL in the World Series gets home field advantage. So it is a big deal, because you always want to have home field advantage in any sporting event so that you can have all your fans there, and it gives you a better better chance at winning because you have your home fans there. Now, it became a big thing. So she was covering the event for Fox, and she interviewed Adam Wainwright. And Adam Wainwright, she just asked him, hey, how are you feeling about this? Did it blow up? How are you really feeling? And Adam Wainwright was like, it was just a joke, it's not a big deal. So as you can see, that's not really an issue for her. I mean, she never did anything wrong. She literally was just a journalist. Like, hey, how are you feeling? How are you reacting to the stigma, the backlash that you're getting? That's all she did. And this is a comment of a Boston sports radio commentator. I will say this. This is him saying this. I will say this. I think she stinks at her job. I don't think she's very smart. I don't think she comes across as very smart. I think Fox only hired her because she's good looking. I think if she weighed 15 pounds more, she'd be a waitress at Perkins. That's what I believe. And then he goes on to say, right here, what a bitch. I hate her. What a gutless bitch. Seriously, go away. Drop dead. I mean, seriously, what the hell is wrong with you? First of all, follow up. Second of all, the guy admitted he did it. He admitted it. He told reporters he threw a couple of pipe bombs. How is this social media's fault? I hate her. I seriously hate her so much. Social media is the reason she has a big house. Shut up. I shouldn't call her a bitch. I'm sure she's a nice person. Now, obviously, that caused some backlash, which it should. Because at the end of the day, as journalists, that's what we are taught. Go after the story, get their opinion, don't be the story, allow them to be the story. So, he goes on air and says all of this. Obviously, backlash, he gets fired. Then he goes to Twitter and he apologizes. He says, there is no defense for the language I use today to describe the work of Erin Andrews. I deserve all the criticism I've received. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that yes, it was far too much. This woman did nothing wrong. She asked him for how he was feeling and what's his response to it. But because she is a woman, she got called a bitch and said that it's just everything is based on her looks. And that happens far too often in this profession. If a woman is slightly attractive, then she just got the job because she is a woman, not because she busts her ass off and she's a hard worker. And that's something that really needs to change. And unfortunately it hasn't, but hopefully with instances like this, realizing that, hey, your words have meaning. And if you say some stupid stuff, you're going to be fired for it. So hopefully things like this will help misogynistic male journalists or reporters realize it's not cool to be like that. So, in conclusion, this is the definition of equality. The state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. And then this is the sign for equality, got the men and women's symbols with the equal sign in it. So, that's it. I hope you... one more thing. I'm going to show you a video.
Players should beat you to death with their hockey stick like the whore you are. I'm just reading this.
Okay.
I mean, okay, this is why we don't hire any females unless we need our sucked or our food cooked.
Sarah Spain is a self-important know-it-all. Okay.
Just read the tweets, man. There's some mean tweets.
This dumb.
There's a lot of C word.
There's a lot of C words, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope your dog gets hit by a car, you
Hopefully this skank Julie DeCaro is Bill Cosby's next victim. That would be classic.
So as you can see right there, these are the things that people write to female journalists. For no reason. There are plenty of men out there who go out and make a stand on something, but nothing happens. So like I was saying, this video was put out yesterday. It's hashtag more than mean, and it just depicts the harassment that female journalists get. And these two women, Julia DeCara and Sarah Spain, really aren't investigative journalists that go out and get hard stories. They're just journalists that talk about their specific sports team. Julia talks a lot about hockey, and Sarah, she writes for ESPNW. She talks and works at ESPN Chicago as well. So she talks about the Cubs, the Bears, the Blackhawks, things like that. And these are the type of things that these women get. So as far as wickedness goes, I don't think that these female journalists, any of the ones that I talked about, are wicked by any means. I think that we just live in a society and have the thought of women can't be in charge, and if they are, we have to put them down and we have to talk about them. So that's my presentation. Thank you.